The death of conclusions. Why belief blocks knowing. The moment the mind says I can or I cannot, infinity collapses into a box. That single declaration sets up boundaries where none exist. It places lines across the limitless. The same happens with God is or God is not. Both are conclusions, and conclusions are graveyards for inquiry. They stop the movement of investigation and turn living flow into static belief. The ego depends on those conclusions because the ego itself is a conclusion, a verdict rendered on nothing, claiming to be something. Why does the mind race to conclude? Because conclusions feel like safety. Beliefs feel like walls that protect, but the walls are paper. Belief is still dual. To believe in God is to leave open the option to doubt. To believe there is no God is to leave open the need to argue. Either way, the pendulum swings. Belief always requires an opposite. But knowing has no opposite. Knowing is not a pendulum. It is the stillness beyond yes and no. It is not God against no God. It is the fact beyond facts, the presence that does not argue. This is why the Course teaches, belief is not required, only acceptance. Because belief is an idol. It is thought made into a golden calf, an image to worship in place of reality. Acceptance is the laying down of idols so truth shines by itself. To conclude that God exists or does not exist is to stay trapped in the domain of the thinker. And the thinker is the ego's mask. The dream of a self pretending it can judge what is. But reality does not stand before the court of thought. Reality does not await a verdict. Reality simply is. Now go deeper. Level 1. Conclusions end the search, but they end it falsely. They give the feeling of completion when what has ended is openness. It is like closing the book halfway through and mistaking the pause for the ending. Level 2. Belief substitutes for knowing. It places a photograph of the sun where the sun itself should be. It is a counterfeit coin passed off as treasure. Belief imitates certainty without offering it. Level 3. The ego thrives on counterfeits. It whispers, take this position, defend this stance, stake this claim. Because the moment a position is taken, the gaze turns outward. And the mind no longer questions the one who sees. That is the ego's deepest trick, to keep attention on conclusions so no one ever asks, who is the one concluding? And in never asking, the dream continues. But knowing is not of thought. It is direct. It requires no conclusion. It is not born of concepts at all. It is the quiet presence that cannot be denied. The Course says, knowledge is not learned, it is given. What is given cannot be threatened. It cannot be lost, cannot be defended, cannot be opposed. Belief is a raft. It can float for a while, but it never lands. Knowing is the shore. The solid ground of what is changeless. Belief is useful in time, but time itself is the illusion. If the raft is never left behind, the sea becomes a prison. But knowing is the recognition that the journey was unnecessary, for the shore was never left. Belief speaks in arguments. Knowing speaks in silence. Belief demands repetition. Knowing requires no rehearsal. Belief separates the seeker from the sought. Knowing collapses the distance. The shift is from concepts about truth to the direct presence of truth. And once that presence is recognized, there is no need to defend, no need to assert, no need to conclude. There is only the stillness of what cannot be opposed. That is the death of conclusions. And it is the birth of knowing. Picture, if you will, a mind that builds walls out of words and calls them truths. A mind that says yes or no, and believes the infinite has been settled by a sound. But look again. Beyond the verdict, beyond the belief, there waits a silence that cannot be contradicted. That silence is not found in conclusions. It is found in knowing. And once it is touched, the search itself disappears somewhere in the timeless land we call the Twilight Zone.